Have you ever thought of a cool webcomic story only to end up abandoning it as soon as you hit a wall? You're not alone. Creating the first chapter is easy, but continuing until the end is hard. However, if you have an outline guiding you from start to finish, it won't be as daunting. Today, we're going to show you how to create an outline for your webcomic story in 5 easy steps. Step number 1. Conceptualize your story. Before you start outlining your story, you need to have, well, a story to outline. If you don't have one yet, don't worry. Story ideas are easy to come up with. You can conceptualize in a heartbeat by looking at your favorite stories, reflecting on your own life experiences, or deriving from any topic you find cool and interesting. That said, having a cool and interesting idea isn't enough. You also have to consider the genre and subgenre of your story. To determine these, ask yourself, in what category does my story fall in? Is it a horror adventure, an action fantasy, or maybe a rom-com? What should the overall tone be? Is it quirky and funny, intense and serious, sad and tragic? Determining the genre and subgenre will help you organize the story to meet the expectations of the readers. If your story is a comedy, well, your story needs to be funny and lighthearted to make the readers laugh. If it's an action, the readers expect that it's filled with intense and blood-pumping action scenes. Each genre has a different set of expectations tied to them, so you need to abide with the rules of your chosen genre. These rules will provide the general do's and don'ts for your story, and they will aid you a lot in the outlining process. Once you're done with your story's genre and subgenre, now it's time to determine your story's premise. A premise is the central idea of your story, and it tells what the story is trying to do. The easiest way to do this is by establishing what the main character wants and what stands in their way of achieving it. A story's premise can be summarized into one sentence called the logline. In creating a logline, you have to identify the main character, their goal, and the main conflict that they have to overcome. Is your story about a high school student who discovers a mysterious notebook that grants him the power to kill anyone by writing their name in it, and must avoid being caught by a peculiar genius detective? Or a young ninja dreams of becoming the strongest in his village and must overcome adversity and uncover the secrets of his mysterious past? Maybe a billionaire dedicates his life to fighting different criminals as a masked vigilante. Whatever your story concept may be, it can be summarized into one sentence that you can use as your reference in creating your outline. Step number 2. Create your characters. Characters are the heart and soul of your story. Without them, your webcomic is just another bundle of pixels on the internet with text bubbles and action lines. But it's not enough to have characters with memorable names, cool designs, and groundbreaking powers. They have to resonate with the audience on a personal level. To do this, you need to ask yourself, what makes them interesting enough for the audience to care? It's not always about what they do, it's also about why they do it. Make the audience invested by giving them something they can relate to and empathize with. Provide your characters with believable traits and personalities. Admirable characteristics are cool, and it's advisable to have them for your main characters. But flaws and weaknesses are also essential. They make characters feel like genuine, breathing humans. After all, no one is perfect in the real world. It's also important to provide your characters with physical and emotional obstacles to overcome. By having these obstacles, you provide your characters with opportunities for growth. Growth is where your characters feel compelling, and without it, your characters are just static, two-dimensional people. Characters become memorable not just because they're good and powerful, but because of the journey they go through. Think of famous characters from your favorite anime, manga, or webcomic. Did your favorite ninja achieve his dreams smoothly? Did your favorite pirate achieve his dreams without losing someone? Did your favorite edge master actually leveled solo? They didn't just win, they struggled, learned, and grew. The happy endings were rightfully earned through the hard work of these characters. And that's what makes them compelling. Step 3. Identify the main plot points. We have the driving forces of your webcomic. Now let's mix them up into a cocktail of delicious and zesty plots. Writing the plot can be very stressful, and knowing that it is the backbone of your story is very intimidating. But the secret to easily writing a good plot is organizing and dividing it into different parts from start to finish. You could divide your entire story's plot for now into three main parts: the beginning, the middle, and the end. Each section serves a purpose in your story, and understanding how they work creates an engaging story. At the beginning of the story, there are 5 things that you have to do at the very least. You have to introduce the setting, introduce your characters, introduce the main conflict, establish the tone and genre of your story, and hook your readers to make sure they don't drop your webcomic series. Once you're done with that, guide your readers to the middle where you develop the plot further and unfold the bulk of your story. Play with the conflict you introduced in the beginning. Raise the stakes by making it hard for your characters to achieve their task, and provide your character with growth and development. Set up a strong climax near the end to make sure your readers are on their toes. When all is said and done, you can finally go to the end where everything will be resolved. You can give your main character a happy ending by making them win against the conflict, or you can also have them lose and end it tragically. You can even end it in a vague manner where the main character doesn't win or lose. The choice is yours. The important thing is you wrap up all loose ends so the readers will feel satisfied after closing the last episode of your webcomic. Remember, while writing your plot, you have to determine the correct pacing. Be mindful of your story's progression and make sure your path from point A to point B up to the last plot point makes sense. Keep it organized, avoid inconsistencies, and ensure you and your audience are following what happens in the story. We'll have a more in-depth discussion about plotting, so watch out for the upcoming videos and subscribe to this channel to get notified. Step number 4. Create your outline. Now that you're done preparing your story concept, the characters, and the plot, it's time to mix them into one big bowl of goodness and turn them into yummy episodes. To do this, make bullet points of the events you have in mind. These bullet points should include what will happen, who the characters are, where they are, and why they are acting the way they are. Lay out the key events you want to happen and divide them into different episodes or chapters. Establish a clear purpose for the episodes and ensure all the events are aligned with this purpose. Avoid cramming several plot points into one episode. Too many events may cause information overload to your readers. There's no limit to how long a webcomic can be, so you can always spread those plot points into future episodes. Maintain a good pacing that doesn't go too fast, and well, too slow. While you don't want to tell your readers everything in one episode, you also don't want them to be bored out of their minds with nothing happening. If you're worried that your readers won't stay and wait for the next episode, you can always use cliffhangers. The endings of each episode should leave your audience eager for the next, and there are so many things you can do that. You can leave your main character cornered by monsters, put them in an uncomfortable position with their crush, or maybe have them discover some groundbreaking secret. Just add a little bit of tension and mystery, and your readers will surely be on their toes. Make sure you're aligned with your story concept, your characters, and your plot. You made them all before the actual outline for a reason, so you better not waste them. Use them as your guide in writing your outline and keep writing your outline until you're satisfied. Number 5. Review and reiterate. If you think you're done, then you're wrong. You have to review your outline to make sure it's good to go. There's nothing wrong with checking your outline once more, as you may find something that needs fixing. Look for inconsistencies that may be considered as plot holes. Find the best way to go from point A to point B. Make sure that your pacing isn't too fast or too slow. You can do all of these yourself, but you can also tap someone trusted to proofread and edit for you. It's also better to revise them now than when you're already writing the scripts, or when you've already drawn your webcomics. Worst, when your readers point them out for you after you publish your webcomic. Save yourself from the embarrassment and get them covered as early as now. It doesn't matter how long you take, as long as you're doing it until you're satisfied. Remember, the outline of your webcomic is the roadmap, so a clear, organized, and consistent one would ensure that you're on the way to creating and publishing a successful webcomic. If you enjoyed or learned something from this video, please subscribe to this channel, as we'll be uploading more content related to webcomic creation and the webcomic industry. We are an art studio that specializes in creating webcomics and manga, and we have released several works on different platforms such as Webtoon, Tapas, and VoiceMe. If you're interested in checking our work, visit our website at blackbamstudio.com or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This has been Black Bam Studio, and we hope we brought you closer to your dream of being a successful comic creator.